Cheyenne versus U.S. Cavalry, the Battle of Platte River Bridge. Steel glints in the harsh sun as 15 warriors inspect their arsenal. Behind them, 400 fighters muffle their horses' hooves with buckskin. In the distance, Platte Bridge Station remains oblivious. 110 soldiers soon to confront the bloodiest ambush of 1865. Subscribe to Native Legends and History Stories for America's untold frontier tales. July 25, 1865. The garrison at Platte Bridge Station maintains their watch. 80 men of Company 1 methodically service their Smith breechloaders, each rifle delivering 8 shots per minute. 12 former Confederate prisoners examine their Springfield muskets, weapons they preferred over prison cells. The 11th Ohio Detachment's Spencer repeating carbines rest ready, 7 cartridges nestled in each tube magazine. 30 men inventory their revolvers, measuring each vital round. Major M. Anderson evaluates the stockade's fortifications. 15-foot barriers of pointed logs shelter the garrison's quarters. The 100-foot bridge traverses the North Platte River, its timbers scarred by supply wagons and mounted patrols. A telegraph wire traces the road, copper strands ferrying messages across 130 miles to Fort Laramie. Reconnaissance reveals the landscape riddled with deep ravines and sand hills, concealing positions for up to 500 warriors. At midday, mess kits rattle in the dining hall. A guard's cry halts every hand. Indians! 15 warriors drift into view along the north bank, their pace deliberately measured. 12 soldiers spring to action within 90 seconds, weapons primed, saddle leather groaning as they mount. The chase unfolds. Warriors withdraw at an unhurried pace, hovering just beyond carbine range. 1 mile from safety, the pursuing soldiers' mounts labor in the summer heat. At 2 miles, reinforcements materialize. 10 warriors emerge from an eastern ravine, 15 surface behind western sandhills. 3 miles out, the patrol tallies 40 warriors arrayed in a broad crescent before them. Carbine shots split the air. 3 warriors tumble from their ponies at 200 yards. 2 more fall at 150 yards. Yet each fallen warrior spawns 3 more from hidden positions. A rider races from the station. Indians spotted on South Bank withdraw immediately. As the soldiers pivot their mounts, the snare closes. 50 warriors surge from concealed locations, their earlier movements revealed as calculated strategy. Every gulch and depression spews painted fighters, transforming retreat into a desperate gambit. A marksman's round strikes a Cheyenne chief. The 50-70 caliber slug tears through flesh. His mount veers left, plunging through thickets until both vanish from sight. Warriors charge forward wielding spears and clubs. 12 reinforcements surge from the station, their coordinated volleys forcing the attackers to recoil. 2 soldiers dismount where the chief disappeared. They discover him motionless, crimson spreading beneath. A combat knife pierces his chest, no movement. The trooper's blade shifts to the chief's scalp. Without warning, the dead man's eyes flash open, lips forming words. A revolver blast silences his appeals. On the south bank, parallel combat erupts. Warriors retreat under mounted charges, their ranks swelling from 20 to 60. Each pursuit lures soldiers further from support. Each withdrawal positions more fighters between the patrol and sanctuary. Inside the station, preparations accelerate. Soldiers tally ammunition, less than 20 rounds per carbine. The 11th Ohio Spencer rifles contain 7 shots each, but reserves dwindle. Springfield muskets demand precise loading, each paper cartridge irreplaceable. Major Anderson stations men along the stockade perimeter, sensing the true assault approaches. The telegraph operator's key taps urgently. Warnings flash to neighboring stations, massive war party assembling. Scouts track more warriors converging, Cheyenne, Sioux, and Arapaho fighters encircling the station. By nightfall, nearly 1,000 warriors will encircle Platte Bridge Station. The garrison's 110 defenders inspect weapons once more, knowing tomorrow will test their resolve. Storm clouds mass above the North Platte River. The bridge sways in the strengthening wind. Within the stockade, soldiers compose final letters. Some polish weapons again, though their rifles already shine. Others attempt sleep, knowing rest will prove elusive. Every man understands July 26, 1865 will bring either triumph or annihilation to Platte Bridge Station. Cold metal meets warm flesh as the knife edge finds the chief's scalp. His eyes flash open, cracked lips moving in desperate supplication. Gunsmoke fills the thicket as a revolver blast ends his prayers permanently. The soldiers examine their grim prize, a buckskin jacket adorned with macabre decorations. 35 distinct trophies, each a lock of human hair, tell stories of violence across the frontier. Fair settlers' strands lie next to warriors' braids, children's curls beside women's long tresses. The sight stirs recent memories. Just 10 days past, these men discovered their comrade's fate. His body lay twisted in the grass, bearing witness to hours of methodical torture. Expert hands had extracted maximum suffering, leaving marks that turned hardened soldiers' stomachs. Now, standing over the chief's corpse, they fulfill their vows of vengeance with cold efficiency. The July 25th engagement scars the prairie with its aftermath. Dead warriors mark their final positions, bodies sprawled where bullets found them. Within the stockade's walls, soldiers dress their wounds, superficial injuries that speak of close fighting. Bullet grazes leave red lines across flesh, lance tips trace shallow furrows in muscle. Victory's initial sweetness turns bitter as Major Anderson tallies their resources. The ammunition count reveals their precarious position. Each Smith carbine holds fewer than 20 rounds. Spencer rifles, their innovative design useless without cartridges, show similar shortages. Fort Riley's winter shipment, once seemingly abundant, has dwindled to dangerous levels under combat conditions. Private James E. Bush commands the ammunition detail. His hands never stop moving as he oversees makeshift cartridge production. Lead melts in carefully maintained fires, flowing into bullet molds with practiced precision. Others learn his craft by necessity, transforming the armory into an impromptu munitions factory. Their efforts, while admirable, barely offset the day's expenditure. Military bureaucracy moves with glacial speed. Requisition forms lie unopened at Fort Laramie. Duplicate requests travel to Fort Leavenworth, lost in administrative quagmire. Telegraph messages bring empty assurances, supplies allocated, shipments scheduled, relief forthcoming. Yet their ammunition stores shrink with each passing hour, official promises providing no defense against determined warriors. Darkness claims the station. Sudden hoofbeats on the bridge planks trigger instant response. Guards materialize at their posts, weapons trained on approaching shadows. A challenge rings out, answered by welcome voices. Lieutenant Brittany leads 5 men of Company G, 11th Ohio Cavalry. Their arrival from Sweetwater Station changes the strategic equation. They report 3 supply wagons following, 50 miles behind their position. Sergeant Amos J. Custard commands the escort, 25 men of the 11th Kansas keeping watch over precious cargo. The convoy makes slow progress, now halted 18 miles out until morning. Lieutenant Brittany's patrol expresses shock at the station's state of alert. Their ride encountered no hostile signs. Their optimism fades as they learn of recent events. July 26th dawns with deceptive peace. Morning light reveals mounted figures on northern ridges. 90 warriors occupy familiar positions, matching yesterday's numbers, while displaying radically different behavior. No attacks materialize, no challenges echo across the water. They simply maintain positions, watching with predatory focus. Spyglass lenses reveal familiar faces among the warriors, yesterday's combatants now showing uncanny restraint. This unnatural calm sets veteran soldiers on edge. The warriors hold loose formations, preserving their mount's strength while adhering to some unseen strategy. Major Anderson reads the battlefield from his elevated position. Years of frontier experience help him decode subtle patterns in seemingly random movement. Warriors shift positions with calculated casualness, maintaining optimal spacing while appearing disorganized. The bridge stretches below, 100 feet of vital connection now transformed into potential vulnerability. 110 defenders man their posts, each carrying fewer rounds than the day before. Somewhere across the territory, 3 wagons carry desperately needed supplies toward them, their escort unaware of the developing situation. The sun climbs higher without incident. No shots shatter the morning stillness. No war cries carry across the river's flow. Instead, tension builds like a summer storm. Both forces maintain their positions, each side evaluating the other across the North Platte's divide. The warriors' unusual restraint creates more anxiety than any direct assault. Combat veterans recognize these signs, the deliberate calm that often precedes massive bloodshed. Major Anderson examines the assembled force. Lieutenant Collins, you'll lead this detail. Secure that supply train. Lieutenant Casper Collins of the 11th Ohio Cavalry acknowledges the order. Despite his youth at 21, he carries himself with the confidence earned from 3 years of frontier combat. The son of Ohio's former governor reached Platte Bridge mere days ago, completing a 30-mile ride from Deer Creek Station with 5 men of Company K, 11th Kansas Cavalry. The soldiers arrange themselves with military precision. Cavalry mounts shift beneath their riders, equipment rattling with each movement. Infantry troops gather alongside, weapons held ready. Lieutenant Brittany collects 12 men from the 11th Ohio, preparing to establish watch points along the northern heights. Conserve ammunition, Major Anderson commands. 20 rounds per carbine is all we have. The soldiers exchange knowing looks, understanding the gravity of their situation. Bridge timbers resonate under the mounted detail's passage. Infantry boots follow, striking wood in steady rhythm. The force winds upward from the bottomland, climbing the bluff's gradual incline. Lieutenant Collins signals his men to halt. At 400 yards distance, 2 warriors work atop telegraph poles, systematically destroying communication lines. Movement alerts the warriors to approaching soldiers. They descend the poles with fluid motions, dropping beside their waiting mounts. As they take their seats, Collins notices something peculiar. Both horses limp noticeably, struggling forward as their riders urge them to speed. "Those ponies can barely move," observes a sergeant. "We've got them. The opportunity seems perfect." Collins gives the order to charge, sending 25 mounted men forward. Their pursuit leads them away from the established trail, the river vanishing from view as they chase their seemingly helpless quarry. Beyond the willow screen west of the bridge, 400 Cheyenne warriors emerge simultaneously. Battle cries echo across the landscape as they surge over the bottomland. They ascend the bluff slope, weapons raised. Additional warriors appear from every hollow and sand hill, their force growing exponentially with each moment. Collins's men reverse direction, but precious time has elapsed. Warriors form a complete circle within minutes, pressing so near that archery becomes impossible. Friendly casualties would be inevitable. Warriors switch to hand weapons, thrusting with lances and swinging tomahawks as they attempt to drag soldiers from their saddles. The detail maintains strict formation, creating 2 solid ranks. Carbines discharge with deadly accuracy, each bullet finding flesh in the surrounding mass of attackers. As carbines run dry, revolvers emerge while warriors test their defenses with increasingly aggressive assaults. Within the formation, a 17-year-old trooper from Company 1, 11th Kansas, handles his distinctive weapon. His pepper box revolver features an unconventional design, the hammer situated underneath, advancing automatically with each trigger squeeze. During close combat, a warrior's spear connects with the boy's head, but rapid horse movement converts a lethal strike into a superficial wound. A massive warrior looms over the young soldier, displaying a contemptuous smile. "Ah, no good," he taunts in rough English, reaching toward the boy's arm. The pepper box's mechanism rotates precisely. The shot cracks out. The warrior's mocking expression transforms to shock as lead penetrates his torso, his lifeless form falling beneath the stamping hooves below. The warrior's sneer dissolves into an expression of stunned agony. Crimson stains spread across his tunic as he collapses forward, his mount spinning away from combat. The detail accelerates toward the bluff's edge. Warriors flanking both sides withdraw strategically, creating a deceptive path. Suddenly, massed gunfire erupts from the rear, countless weapons firing in unison. The cacophony echoes the intensity of Wilson Creek and Prairie Grove, bullets saturating the air. The detail's desperate descent down the precipitous slope proves providential. The warriors' hasty shots travel high. Their errant bullets strike unexpected targets, numerous Sioux fighters advancing uphill toward the bridge. Lieutenant Collins and 4 soldiers sprawl lifeless on gore-streaked earth. The remaining men bear various injuries, bullet scrapes, spear slashes, arrow wounds, though none prove immediately lethal. The moment Cheyenne warriors charge, Troops near the bridge dash forward to support their embattled comrades. Their footfalls thunder across the bottomland, crossing half the gap before the detail races down the incline. Armed reinforcements' arrival causes pursuing warriors to hesitate. Lieutenant Brittany's force abandons their lookout position instantly upon sighting Cheyenne attackers. They sprint bridgeward, boots scrabbling on unstable ground. Their arrival proves perfectly timed. Within a deep gulch east of the bridge, 500 Sioux warriors emerge from hiding. They attack immediately as Cheyenne forces attain the bluff's summit. Brittany's soldiers establish defensive positions. Additional troops cross the bridge, weapons blazing. The Cheyennes' imprecise fire, directed at the withdrawing detail, continues soaring overhead. Their shots rip into advancing Sioux ranks. Warriors collapse on the incline as concentrated fire transforms the bridge approach into lethal terrain. Sioux fighters retreat under the punishing fusillade, withdrawing to their gulch as rapidly as they appeared. A soldier falls as the survivors contact the river, his heart pierced. The remaining troops drive their horses into the water. 4 rods from the opposite shore, another fighter topples from horseback, vanishing into the current. The others press their mounts forward, reaching the bank and turning stationward. Fighters materialize from hidden positions south of the waterway. These warriors had maintained ambush positions, anticipating reconnaissance patrols or opportunities to assault the station. The convoy's approach alters their strategy. The majority ford the river downstream, while 15 to 20 fighters advance south toward the approaching wagons. 3 isolated soldiers encounter the vanguard of warriors on the southern bank. Merely 4 or 5 hostile riders confront them. The soldiers' accurate fire eliminates 2 warriors before reinforcements arrive. Directing their mounts southeastward toward distant peaks, they discover a deep ravine bordered with vegetation. The soldiers relinquish their fatigued mounts. They navigate dense foliage, descending into the ravine's protection. Following a quarter-mile of cautious progress, they halt to evaluate their circumstances. A corporal creeps to the ravine's edge, carefully elevating his head to examine the landscape. A bullet's passage precedes intense pain. Metal carves a channel across his scalp, the impact disorienting him. He collapses immediately. His fellows pull him to safety, cleansing the injury with canteen water. Awareness returns gradually, bringing recognition of their vulnerable situation. The ravine provides momentary sanctuary, but enemies dominate the surrounding landscape. Their cartridge pouches contain minimal ammunition. Blood darkens hurriedly applied bandages. The station stands tantalizingly distant, but reaching it requires traversing exposed terrain under hostile observation. The warriors' numerical superiority and territorial familiarity convert each possible approach into a deadly challenge. Dawn's early optimism has devolved into raw survival. Lieutenant Collins and his fallen comrades remain where they fell, marking the warriors' effective ambush. While the bridge remains defended, victory extracts a terrible price. The surviving troops shelter in their ravine, constantly monitoring for approaching threats. Beyond their position, gunfire indicates the convoy's location. The wagons contain critically needed ammunition, yet assistance seems impossibly remote. Warriors control all intervening ground, their strength increasing as additional fighters converge. Each moment reduces the soldiers' chances of rejoining their unit. Perspiration blends with blood on the survivors' features. Their weapons stay prepared, despite dwindling ammunition. The corporal's cranial wound persists bleeding, crimson droplets betraying their location despite bandaging efforts. They maintain absolute quiet, listening intently for sounds signaling approaching warriors. The sun ascends, transforming the ravine into a furnace. No air movement disturbs the vegetation concealing them. Airborne dust from numerous hooves marks warrior movements across the grassland. The station's fortifications beckon distantly, offering protection that remains agonizingly unreachable. The troops advance cautiously downriver through the ravine. Their next observation reveals altered conditions. Only 2 or 3 fighters maintain positions on high ground 3/4 mile away, serving as lookouts. Through rising dust, they identify another ravine. Its course leads riverward, terminating approximately half a mile from the station's fortified perimeter. They reach their decision swiftly. Breaking cover, they dash across exposed terrain. The secondary ravine's protection envelops them. No hostile fire pursues them. No warriors appear. This momentary refuge permits their first relaxed breaths since combat began. Activity erupts at the station. 15 to 20 troops exit the fortification, advancing rapidly across the bottomland. Concurrent with this movement, warriors exit the original ravine, matching numbers charging toward the soldiers' new location. The relief force increases pace, shouting instructions, "Descend the ravine, advance to our position." The trio of soldiers emerges, crossing open ground at maximum speed. They achieve half the distance to their rescuers before their pursuers attain clear terrain. Rifle fire commences from the relief party. Projectiles saturate the space between friendly forces and hostiles. The warriors' return fire proves inaccurate. The attacking force disengages, redirecting toward the distant wagon train. The surviving soldiers reach safety, 1 corporal and 2 privates from Company H, 11th Kansas Cavalry. Their exhausted condition and bloodied uniforms evidence their narrow survival. The warriors' focus on wagon train plunder, combined with the tactical decision to abandon mounts, proved crucial to their survival. As the station welcomes the survivors, 12 mounted troops traverse the bridge. They climb the bluff where Lieutenant Collins's force met their end. The discovered scene exceeds description in brutality. The warriors have desecrated the corpses, demonstrating vicious satisfaction in dishonoring their defeated enemies. Amid the destruction, document pages flutter. A soldier recovers them, sections from a personal diary or account book. The message conveys alarming intelligence. Imprisoned at Labonte Station 7 months past. Danger imminent. 3,000 warriors congregate: Cheyenne, Sioux, Arapaho, Comanche, and Blackfeet. Additional 1,000 expected shortly. Yesterday's slaying of their Cheyenne chief demands retribution. They intend destroying all stations along this route before targeting Fort Collins. Escape attempts planned. The message lacks signature, but reveals much. Several 11th Ohio soldiers identify probable authorship: a former companion who abandoned his post at Labonte Station. The 11th Ohio's composition includes numerous former Confederate fighters captured during Morgan's Ohio incursion. They selected Indian combat over Northern imprisonment, awaiting conclusion of hostilities or exchange arrangements. While most demonstrate loyalty, exceptions exist. Deserters join native forces, introducing advanced warfare techniques. These turncoats share military expertise, enhancing traditional combat methods. Their understanding of Army protocols increases attack efficiency and ambush effectiveness. Atop the station, powerful optics reveal distant conflict. The supply convoy stands vulnerable, encompassed by accumulating warriors. The 3 survivors represent total escapees. Remaining personnel face overwhelming opposition, their situation compromised by limited ammunition and superior enemy numbers. Station personnel observe powerlessly. Ammunition constraints prevent intervention. Lieutenant Collins's force sacrificed themselves attempting to prevent this scenario. Their desecrated remains on the bluff demonstrate the price of defeat. Optical observation reveals continued warrior concentration. Morning's engagement represented initial phases. 3,000 combatants assemble beyond sight, reinforced by 1,000 approaching fighters. The station's 110 defenders stand between hostiles and objectives. Warrior vengeance, intensified by their chief's elimination, ensures forthcoming violence. Medical attention proceeds for the survivors. Their injuries chronicle desperate combat: projectile wounds, blade cuts, arrow injuries. Each mark represents death's near miss, selecting alternative targets. Their escape provides crucial intelligence regarding hostile strength and deployment, purchased with comrades' lives. Station defenders evaluate information solemnly. Bridge security maintains temporarily exacting heavy toll. Lieutenant Collins's force remains exposed, denied proper burial. The supply train faces destruction. 3,000 warriors prepare assault, numbers increasing continuously. Optical surveillance reveals constant activity beyond visual range. Dust signifies arriving reinforcements. The station's crucial position, controlling bridge and roadway, guarantees focused attention. The anonymous writer's warning gains credibility with each observation. Danger imminent. The supply wagons stand in triangular formation. 20 soldiers brace behind wooden barricades, weapons positioned. The northern wagon commands the upslope, eastern and southern vehicles guard adjacent approaches. The western flank remains undefended, exposed wheel hubs providing scant protection. Empty cartridges scatter the earth, metal catching afternoon light. The first attack comes swift and direct. Mounted warriors surge forward, weapons raised skyward. Muzzle flashes erupt from the wagon line. Warriors tumble from horses at point-blank range. 7 bodies mark the attacker's advance before the remainder scatter, leaving their fallen across blood-stained ground. Additional fighters mass below. A larger force launches uphill, doubling the initial assault's strength. Coordinated volleys ring out from defensive positions. More warriors fall. The survivors withdraw, seeking shelter among terrain features. Powder smoke hangs in the still air. Fighting adopts measured pace. Defenders fire single shots, conserving limited ammunition. Return fire from southern positions, inches closer with each exchange. Spent cartridges accumulate. 20 men, perhaps 50 rounds remaining per rifle. The station's spyglass misses nothing. These defenders shared southern campaigns for 3 years. Now isolation grips them, 2.5 miles from reinforcement. Warriors maneuver methodically, testing defenses while awaiting ammunition depletion. Men cluster around Major Anderson. Permission to lead 50 volunteers, sir. We can reach them. Anderson sets down his spyglass. Command responsibility weighs in his expression. Relief forces would perish en route. Station capture would follow, its strategic bridge lost. 1,500 hours brings tactical adjustment. Lieutenant Walker, lead 20 riders east. Restore telegraph communications. Deer Creek must send reinforcements. Walker acknowledges, assembling his force. 12 former Confederate soldiers, now frontier fighters, establish supporting positions half-mile distant. Clear signals govern the operation. Waving flag indicates warrior movement. Howitzer blast commands immediate return. Walker's detail contacts severed lines 2 miles eastward. Sergeant McDougal takes Porter, Hilty, and Chapel quarter-mile forward as security. Others commence repairs, metal tools breaking afternoon silence. Alert sentries detect movement. Warriors shift northward from their position between station and wagons, traversing high ground 1 mile northeast. Their purpose becomes obvious: isolate Walker's repair team. The station flag snaps urgently. Howitzer concussion rolls across open ground. Repair work ceases instantly. Horses prance beneath mounting riders. Walker orders withdrawal, unknowingly abandoning his forward security team. The supporting force commander reveals his quality, ordering retreat before cavalry convergence. Infantry elements observe incredulously as supporting troops withdraw. Damaged telegraph lines hang incomplete, critical messages undelivered. Walker's main element races stationward, while 4 scouts hold position, unaware of retrograde orders. Warriors display tactical sophistication. Main forces contain the wagons while strike elements engage Walker's party. 500 combatants enable multiple simultaneous threats, compelling defenders to distribute inadequate combat power. Each station defender's shot must achieve effect, suppressing fire impossible with limited ammunition. Wagon defenders maintain combat discipline. 3 defensive faces provide mutual support through coordinated fields of fire. The exposed western sector enables rapid force shifting, but presents clear assault lanes once ammunition reserves deplete. Intermittent shots sound from wagon positions. Each discharge marks depleting resources. Warriors demonstrate patience learned from military deserters. Immediate assault unnecessary. Time favors the attackers. Expended brass builds behind defensive positions. Soldiers redistribute remaining ammunition, sharing dwindling supplies. Water grows scarce under afternoon sun. Station fortifications stand mockingly visible at 2.5 miles, observable but unreachable. The spyglass tracks warrior advancement. They navigate between cover, each movement reducing distance to the wagon perimeter. Defensive fire becomes increasingly selective, each shot representing calculated risk. Defenders must maintain fires. Cessation ensures massive assault. Yet each trigger pull hastens the moment when their weapons fall silent. Infantry soldiers sprint toward the galvanized troops' abandoned position. Curses follow the retreating captain, branding him coward for abandoning his post before the cavalry's return. He ignores their shouts, spurring toward the station while some of his men, showing more courage, turn back to help. The cavalry catches up to the infantry, most riders turning to support Walker's 4 abandoned scouts. Lieutenant Walker's horse bolts at full speed, carrying him straight to the station without firing a single shot. 15 warriors emerge from a north side ravine, charging the exposed scouts. Carbines crack in defense. Empty rifles give way to revolvers as the scouts face this immediate threat. Their focus on the northern attack proves fatal. Warriors slip from a southern ravine, closing the distance unseen. A spear takes Porter through the heart before anyone spots the danger. He drops from his saddle, dead before hitting the ground. Another warrior drives his spear into Hilty's back, puncturing his lung. The attacker yanks his bloodied weapon free as Hilty slumps forward across his horse's neck. The same warrior strikes at McDougal, but the close quarters work against him. The sergeant turns, recognizing his attacker. His revolver presses against the warrior's chest. The last bullet in his cylinder tears through the warrior's heart. Infantry soldiers reach firing range, carbines adding to the defense. The relatively small warrior group, facing increasing resistance, breaks off their attack. Hilty's horse carries him to the station, his wounds severe but not fatal. He'll survive to fight another day. At the supply train, the firing stops. Smoke rises thick and black against the afternoon sky. 3 wagons become funeral pyres, marking the end of a 4-hour defense. 20 men fought to their last bullet, overwhelmed by superior numbers. Warriors circle the burning wagons until nightfall, then withdraw to the northern bluffs. Night brings heightened vigilance. Double guards take position, maintaining overlapping fields of fire. No gap remains uncovered. The defenders won't risk surprise attack. Just after midnight, warriors probe the defenses. Alert guards spot movement, rifles cracking in the darkness. A few arrows whistle back, then silence returns. At 22 hours, Major Anderson summons the half-breed Snake Scout. His mission: reach Deer Creek Station, report their situation, request reinforcements and ammunition. The scout selects a captured Indian pony, one whose rider fell during Collins's final charge. He departs at 22:10, riding south toward the mountains before turning east on hidden trails. Captured ponies crowd the station's corral, mounts whose riders died in the day's fighting. These horses followed Collins's men instinctively, providing unexpected resources. The half-breed chose well. His selected pony knows this territory, moving surely through darkness. Dawn reveals warriors still manning the bluffs. Their numbers diminish steadily as groups peel off, heading northwest. By noon, the last fighters disappear from view. The station's defenders maintain their vigilance. Experience has taught them the cost of relaxing too soon. At 15 hours, movement catches the sentry's attention. A column approaches from Deer Creek's direction. 50 men of Company K, 11th Kansas Volunteers, march into view. 5,000 rounds of ammunition accompany them, enough to change the tactical equation. The half-breed's mission succeeded. His nighttime ride through hostile territory achieved its goal. Relief arrives as the station's ammunition supplies near exhaustion. Each surviving defender knows how close they came to sharing the supply train's fate. Behind the wagon's smoldering remains, 20 men lie where they fell. Their 4-hour stand gave no quarter and asked none. The warriors' superior numbers finally prevailed, but victory came at a heavy cost. Dozens of fighters died charging those 3 wagons, testing the defenders' resolve until ammunition and lives ran out together. Lieutenant Walker's failed telegraph repair mission demonstrates the warriors' tactical sophistication. They maintained pressure on the station while dispatching forces to intercept his detail. Their quick response to his movement shows both excellent observation and command control. The galvanized troops' captain reveals the risk of relying on former enemies. His precipitous retreat endangered both Walker's cavalry and the infantry soldiers advancing to help. Yet some of his men showed true courage, turning back to assist despite their commander's cowardice. 4 scouts paid the price for their commander's haste. Porter died instantly, Hilty suffered a severe wound, and all faced death when warriors attacked from 2 directions. Only quick reactions and the infantry's arrival prevented complete disaster. The half-breed scout's success offers cold comfort. His message brought relief, but too late for the supply train's defenders. 20 men died waiting for ammunition that arrived hours after their last shots rang out. Their burning wagons marked another victory for the warriors' strategy of isolating and overwhelming separate targets. Fresh troops enter the compound, military gear resting heavy after relentless marching. Their trail-worn uniforms and determined expressions speak of urgent travel. Station survivors acknowledge their arrival with muted appreciation. 5,000 cartridges reach them too late to assist the wagon train's doomed defenders. The strengthened garrison wastes no time. United forces pursue warrior signs northward, each step crushing grass still dark with spilled blood. Descending sun illuminates the convoy's last defensive position. Battle-hardened soldiers pause at the sight before them. 21 corpses lie desecrated beneath open sky. Sunlight reflects in empty eye sockets, skin bleached white by constant exposure. One soldier bears distinctive marks, a wagon rim pressed into flesh while heated cherry red. Burn patterns reveal calculated cruelty. Warriors ensured his suffering lasted, savoring each moment of torment. Remaining bodies show combat's swift mercy, clean bullet wounds, precise lance strikes, deep arrow penetrations. Scalps lie discarded around the corpses, an uncommon practice indicating significant warrior casualties. 40 stretcher trails cut parallel lines where wounded fighters dragged toward safety. Battle statistics grow like death tallies after major engagements. Lieutenant Collins plus 27 soldiers fill death lists. 11 survivors bear permanent battle marks. One soldier disappears completely, concealed by prairie vegetation or taken for prolonged torture in distant camps. Warrior losses mount higher, 60 dead across battlefield and ravines. 130 bear grave injuries, blood droplets marking their northern withdrawal. Dawn signals burial duties. Shovels break ground where wagon defenders made their stand. Company H of the 11th Kansas Regiment occupies most graves, soldiers who built fierce fighting reputations. Confederate bullets missed them through 3 years of intense combat. Now, discharge papers nearly complete, prairie earth welcomes their blanket-wrapped forms. New soil marks burial locations. Command staff document positions, identities, recovered possessions. Veteran soldiers understand truth. Natural forces will eliminate these markers quickly. Bodies will remain, nurturing grasses that warrior horses will graze in coming seasons. Station defenders observe burial proceedings with vacant stares. They understand their narrow survival. Bridge capture, ammunition depletion, one final warrior assault, slight circumstantial changes could have doubled casualty numbers. Metal sounds beneath shovel blades. Soldiers reveal convoy cargo, ammunition containers smashed by warrior weapons, contents destroyed and useless. These supplies might have prevented deaths. Instead, 20 men perished defending resources beyond their reach. 48 hours pass under constant alert. The 6th Michigan Cavalry arrives for station relief. New defenders occupy positions while survivors assemble for departure. Their eastward movement begins without fanfare. 29 graves remain guarding Platte Bridge passage. Living soldiers carry mental burdens that will disturb future rest. Warriors materializing from concealment. Collins's command fighting final moments. Wagon smoke signaling 20 men's expensive sacrifice. Decisions sending soldiers to death while others observed helplessly. Spring moisture fills grave depressions. Prairie vegetation conceals disturbed soil. Wagon tracks gradually disappear. 60 warrior burials in scattered villages mark battle costs. 130 fighters wear permanent reminders of Platte Bridge confrontation. The strategic crossing stands secured, purchased with mutual bloodshed. Thanks for watching. Experience the raw power of America's untold frontier stories. Subscribe to Native Legends and History Stories.